Welcome to SVG TV News for Monday, October 3rd, 2022. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. St. Vincent and the Grenadines today observe a National Day of Prayer under the theme Always Pray and Not Give Up. The prayer session ran from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and included workplace devotions, schools devotion, interactive on-air prayers via radio and on social media platforms. In an address to the nation, Minister of National Reconciliation, Curtis King, says the country and its people have experienced many challenges over the past 2 years, from the COVID-19 pandemic, the volcanic eruption. However, we have been navigating through these challenges by the grace of God, and so must give thanks.
We might think that our attempts to pray are futile, but the power of prayer is in the one who hears it, and not in the one who sees it. Our prayers do make a difference. Therefore, we must pray fervently, faithfully, and unceasingly. As this year's theme implores us, always pray and not give up. Luke chapter 18, verse 1, quoting from the New International Version.
Noting the importance of the power of prayer, Minister King says all Vincentians far and wide must go before God and admit our weaknesses and turn to Him in difficult times, as he made mention of the recent road fatalities.
As we mourn the loss of the 5 young men from Clare Valley who died in the Sandy Bay accident, and most recently the young man who died in the Andersville accident, we pray that their families will find comfort in the presence of the Lord. As a people, we must not be fearful of what lies ahead, but believe always in the one who keeps us, and give ourselves fresh hope by continuing to pray, work hard, smart, and together. We are a resilient people who have always recovered after every natural disaster or man-made disaster. Once again, we are called upon to demonstrate that resilience. May God continue to bless our nation as we continue to pray steadfastly throughout the day.
On Saturday, it was announced by the SVG police force that as a mark of respect to the 5 persons who lost their lives in the motor vehicle accident on September 11, 2022 in Sandy Bay, national flags are being flown at half-mast until the bodies are laid to rest. The 5 men from Clare Valley were on an omnibus en route to Ovia for a funeral service when the bus went over an embankment in Sandy Bay. An investigation into the accident is ongoing, while a book of condolences has been opened. In comparison to other countries in the region, St. Vincent and the Grenadines has a very low vaccination rate, and Chief Health Promotions Officer Shanika John is encouraging Vincentians to continue to take precautionary measures to protect themselves against COVID-19. According to the latest update from the Ministry of Health, St. Vincent and the Grenadines has no active cases of COVID-19 and no hospitalization. To date, 72,841 vaccines have been administered, which include 37,275 first dose, 31,391 second dose, and 4,175 boosters.
Grenadines, as it is now, has a very low vaccination rate in comparison to some of the other countries within the region. And so we have to understand there is a risk associated with having such a low vaccination status, and especially if we have quite a number of persons within our population who are at risk. And we're talking about NCDs and they have one or more pre-existing conditions. So those are things that we definitely want to caution people about.
Okay, and you just mentioned the low vaccination rate. Are we still seeing persons turning up to get vaccinated or even boosted?
We're seeing persons, but it's nowhere where we would like it to be. It's a very trickled in process. Vaccination, COVID-19 vaccines are available across most of our health facilities in each district. So in each district, Vincentians can guarantee that vaccines are definitely available at that particular district.
John said that vaccines are still available, including the Moderna vaccines, and urges persons who have not yet done so to get vaccinated.
As it is now, we have the Moderna vaccine available, we have the Pfizer for children 5 to 11, and we have the Pfizer for those persons 18 years and older, and for those who are even from 12 and older. That vaccine is also available for those persons. So COVID-19 vaccine is still available. I think just yesterday I saw an email with regard to procurement of additional vaccines as well. So we're still in the loop of getting additional vaccines. But even while I'm on vaccines, Johnny, I think it's important for persons, even now, as we sort of ease our way out of the pandemic, because we still have to wait for the official declaration. So we refer to it as what it is right now, that people need to get back on track with regards to all their other vaccinations.
Poor construction practice is one of the main reasons why houses retaining walls and other structures are destroyed during the rainy season. This is according to civil structural engineer Rajay Alexander, who noted that most of the damage seen could have been avoided if the construction work was done properly. Alexander was speaking on NBC Radio face-to-face program this morning on damage assessment and causes of damage during the rainy season.
Sometimes contractors going to take a lot of shortcuts, and it is all well and good, when nothing happens, you save some money, but at the end of the day, when something happens, it leaves the structure a lot more vulnerable than it should have been. So a lot of the damage that we see could be attributed to poor construction. For example, we may go and visit a collapsed retaining wall, but when we look at the wall, the steel is inadequate, or there is sometimes no steel. Foundation isn't done properly.
Build a little cheaper.
Exactly. Try to build a little cheaper, but at the end of the day, when something happens, it fails, it collapses.
The civil structure engineer says another problem that poses a threat to structures is the proper control of water drainage.
The water comes off the roof and it falls on the ground, and it flows freely. Or they have a gutter, the gutter flows over the bank, and the water is just left to freely flow over the bank. Now, water is we know water, we could control water so much. Water tends to take the easiest path it could find, and sometimes that is not best for us. What we need to stress is that we should try and keep water as far away from foundations as possible. Water erodes dirt. Once you erode, you expose foundation, the building or the wall or whatever the structure is becomes vulnerable. And that is something we see quite a lot, especially something as simple as getting roof gutterings and channeling that water away from the building. That's very, very important, because the water falls. It probably won't happen immediately, right, but over time, the water keeps eroding a piece. You may see part of the bank fall along today when a little rain comes. It may not be anything significant, but over time, before you know it, the bank has eroded to such an extent that your house is now threatened, or your wall foundation has completely eroded, and a next rain event or next little something, and the wall could collapse.
Advising persons on practicing proper construction techniques, Alexander says prevention is always better than cure.
We're in the hurricane season now. We need to ensure that we not only secure our surroundings. If we're doing new construction, we need to ensure that we follow the building codes and follow the design as much as possible. It is, as I said, I keep stressing that it is easy now to say, okay, I want to save a couple bucks by getting this thing done easier and omitting this. You may want to cut down on the amount of steel that you buy, the quality of the concrete and things like that. But in the long run, it could be detrimental. You may end up spending more money in the long run than you would have in the initial investment. So we always need to keep that in the front of our minds, that we living in a region where we could get hit by a hurricane at any time, right? And we see the severity of the hurricane coming off the Atlantic now. Category 5 and 4 seem to be a norm now, and we haven't been hit by one of those yet or in a while. But even some of the smaller events that we have been affected by, a lot of these flooding events, a lot of the damage could be lessened if we practice proper construction techniques.
In other news, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves is back in the state and will hold a news conference tomorrow, Tuesday, October 4th, to update the nation on the activities associated with his recent official mission to the USA and the UK, as well as other issues of national importance. While in the UK, the Prime Minister met with King Charles, who is King of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and passed on condolences for the late Queen during an audience in the library at Balmoral. Tomorrow's news conference with the Prime Minister is expected to be held at Cabinet Room from 1 p.m. Meanwhile, Minister of Agriculture Saboto Caesar is currently in Antigua and Barbuda with a delegation for the 21st Eastern Caribbean Ministerial Meeting on Fisheries and the Sustainable Use of Marine Resources. According to a news release from the Agency of Public Information, the delegation headed by the minister left the state on Sunday, October 2nd, and includes Director of Grenadines Affairs Edwin Snag and Deputy Director of Grenadines Affairs Carlos Williams. The two-day meeting, which convened today, October 3rd, will deal with issues of food security, sustainable development as it relates to the marine resources, as well as coastal and marine protection in the face of climate change. The Agriculture Minister delivered the opening remarks at the two-day session, highlighting this country's strides in developing the blue economy, as well as regional collaborative approach in dealing with climate change. Persons who are still living in the Rose Place area in capital Kingston have been given notice that they will be losing an important facility to them to the port modernization project, that of the Hard Court. President of the National Fisherfolk Association, Winsbert Harry, who still lives in the area, told SVG TV News that the residents are heartbroken by this information, noting that they have already lost fishermen and other resources because of the project.
Even broadly way that we have the fisher folks now move from Rose Place, right? And we lose the beach and everything. And just last week there was a meeting, a small consultation with some environmentalists talking about the hard coat. And while they talk about the hard coat now, they looking to turn the hard coat into a cement plant, a cementing, and it was promised when we had meeting earlier that the hard coat will remain with the remaining people in Rose Place. And then now we are hearing that we will be losing. Now we are hearing that we will be losing the hard coat. It is really hard. It is really hard for the people of Rose Place to cope with it now, because to see that everything has gone from us in Rose Place. The only thing that is left now in Rose Place is the hard coat, and now you're having consultation in and out of Rose Place, looking at to take the hard coat from us, because the Victoria Park is locked up. We cannot go to the Victoria Park and play in the Victoria Park.
Harry says that he is concerned for the people who remained in Rose Place, noting that the port modernization project has tremendously impacted them socially, economically, and and is appealing to the government to look into these issues.
They're in Rose Place now, being on the ground, there are people lost. The social impact of the project is affecting people in Rose Place. I think they need to have persons on the ground looking at the social issues, because some things persons move from Rose Place, the fishing operation has been gone slow. There are persons now looking to sell the boat. There are persons not so interested in the industry like before. The industry not looking so attractive. And then with this cement plant in Rose Place, we have about 55% of the people still in Rose Place. And I think to put this cement plant in Rose Place will be a very serious issue. We are for the development in Rose Place. We all support the port modernization project. We are in favor of the project. But why now bring a cement plant now to take away the only thing, the only playing field, which is the hard core? And this is where the youngsters go, always in a very run-down situation. We still use it, we still flip on it, we still enjoy it, and now you're taking it away from us. I'm appealing to the port project. Please rethink this, do a good study.
February of this year, the government officially handed over the keys to houses at Lomans Bay to residents of Rose Place who agreed to relocate to allow for the construction of the new port facility, estimated to cost US $185 million, and is funded by the Caribbean Development Bank through the United Kingdom Caribbean Infrastructure Fund. The project is expected to take place in 2 phases. The first phase involves the construction of a new cargo port that will also allocate land for expansion of the current cruise facility. The second phase will include construction of an inter-island and regional port. Both phases are estimated to take 2.5 years to complete. A police constable is now facing charges of aggravated burglary and assault bodily harm. A news release from the SVG police force says, stemming from an incident that occurred on August 21st at Byra, Constable 884 Irving Grant was arrested and charged with the offences. The release says reports are that Constable Grant allegedly entered the dwelling house of a 30-year-old security guard as a trespasser and assaulted the virtual complainant, causing actual bodily harm. Constable Grant appeared at the Serious Offences Court today, Monday, October 3rd, 2022, to answer the charges and pleaded not guilty. He was granted bail in the sum of 8,000 EC dollars with one surety. He was ordered to surrender all travel documents, and stop notices were placed at all ports of entry and exit. He was also ordered to report to the Layu police station on Fridays between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. As a result of Constable Grant's arrest, he was placed on suspension from the SVG police force pending the outcome of the matter, which was adjourned to Monday, December 12th, 2022 for a hearing. And the SVG police force has issued a warning to the public that the teetering of animals on the property of the National Public Library in Richmond Hill must cease with immediate effect. The police say failure to comply with the order may result in the animals being dealt with in accordance with the Stock Trespass Act, Chapter 70 of the revised edition of the Laws of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, 2009. This act, among other things, gives authority to the police to destroy animals that are causing injury to property.